Welcome in. We are
Two bald guys and a microphone.
Of course, this episode of Two Bald Guys and a Microphone is brought to you from our good friends over at Health Markets. Health insurance is a big piece of slice of just ugly Swiss cheese, right? Covers the bread, but there's a lot of holes in it. And most people that I talk to, especially small business owners, have a lot of questions about health coverage and employee benefits and whatnot. Reach out to me, Kent Jones, 815-861-0294. I can help answer any of those questions. I would love to work with you. So we thank Health Markets for sponsoring this whole show, which is great. And let us not forget our good friends over at Tom's Productions. Tom's Productions, we're in the studio right now. Of course, Tom's Productions, you think it, he'll ink it on all your printing and decorated apparel needs. The hats, the tumblers, the pens, shirts, foreheads, whatever you want, your business logo, your team logo, whatever the case may be, school logo, go ahead and give Tom a call at tomsproductions.com. And he'll take care of you. Unbelievably just great stuff. Of course, today, this month, I guess the next two episodes, we're going to be talking about community and connection, right? So this is important to me because growing up, all of us, there was a sense of community, maybe in your neighborhood, whatever the case may be. But now it seems community is, you know what I mean? Oh, I feel like I'm part of a community because it's on my smartphone. So if I were to ask you guys, what is community? How would you answer that?
Community to me would be a collection of people that are there to support each other, help each other, pick each other up, if somebody falls down, supporting with your growth, supporting with, helping to raise your kids, people with common goals, not the exact same, but common goals. We all want to do well, live well.
Yeah.
Well, growing up in Nebraska, you're bonded into a community right from the very beginning. And one of my favorite examples, my dad was working on a combine, and somebody came up and jerked on his pant leg, and as he turned around to look, his hand went in a V-belt, and it cut off these 3 fingers. And when it threw him off the combine, he dislocated this shoulder. So he was laid up, and he had almost 1,000 acres of corn that needed to be harvested. Well, the entire farming community pulled out of their own fields, and within 24 hours, his entire crop was harvested, was in the thing. So he didn't have to worry about anything but getting better. That's community, right? When you have each other's back, right? And they all have pieces. A small town, there's the cafe owner, there's the gas station owner, a couple of bars in town, the preachers of the different churches. But outside of that, everybody else had to go somewhere else to make the money. But they brought it back, and they shopped at home, and they did things at home, and they took care of each other. And that's, to me, as a community, when you got the other person's best interest at heart all the time.
Yeah. So how many communities are you guys a part of?
That is a great question,
right?
Especially, he asked he knows my world. I got the veteran community, right? I'm retired Army, so we got the veteran community. I was actually at the Veterans Assistant Commission in Woodstock today. And they're like, when do you got an opening for us on your show? And I'm like, we'll work that out. But I've got the veteran community.
Yeah.
I've got the athlete community.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Especially that my former athletes keep coming back to me, coach. That's great. We got our family. We have 12 grandkids. We just had our first great grandchild. So we have the families. That's 3. We've got the networking community, the chambers of commerce, McHenry and Chain of Lakes, right? Working inside there. We got this,
Two bald community. Absolutely.
The bald community. So within each one of them, but if I had to look at one outside of my family is my family, right? They'll always be there. If I had to look at one and say, this is my community, you'd never guess it by the clothes I wear, but it is the veteran community. And, taking care of the people who, some of them haven't been taken care of good for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah.
Right?
It's different now.
It is.
You do have your the athlete and sports community, but
Yep.
I don't spend as much time on social media as I used to.
Right.
So even those connections are not quite the same.
Yeah.
But the people you went to school with, have some connections there, both high school and college. But probably my closest community is probably my work.
Right.
People at school, because we have a tough job working with
You've been there for a minute.
11 years.
Yeah.
11 years. So, and I've seen a lot come and go, but there's, that group
Yeah.
of people that's been there for a while. But even the new people, and it's just a unique situation. It's really tough.
Right.
People are like, man, this place drives me nuts. But it's hard for people to leave. And when people leave, they're like, man, I'm really going to miss this place. I'm going to miss the community, the camaraderie we have, just doing that work. When you have all these people with the same goal, you working together, it does tend to bring you together and cause, bring about a community that you may not have intended to be a part of when you first get there. He's like, oh, it's a job. It's a nice place. These are nice people. But then you start growing these relationships with people, and it's like, man, I'm gonna miss this place when I leave. So
right. So, and when I was prepping for of course this show and this series, I started thinking, I'm like, oh my gosh, just start church, ding, 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 community, and it started to hit me, and then I was like, how many communities should somebody be involved in, right? Because it's for dudes especially, right? For men, I think you find your buddies, right?
Yeah.
But that community is something that I think that we miss, or we're afraid to maybe join or be part of. But then sometimes when we do, I can think of 3 or 4 communities that drive me crazy, and I keep saying, why am I part of this community?
Did he look at us when he said that?
Yes. But you understand what I'm saying? Is that I think there's a yearning for a lot of people to be part of a community, right? But I think it takes more than 2 people. Like this is buddies, The 3 of us are not a community.
Right.
Right. So what's that number?
Family.
Yeah. What's that number that takes it from?
Well, let's look at the Chamber of Commerce community. I mean, you kind of smile because how long I've been in the chamber. And there was a time I thought, well, I could join more chambers and have more.
Yeah.
But as I did, and I was at one point, not myself personally, but I was involved with the business. We were in 5 different chambers of commerce, right? But then when you have a referral for a real estate agent, which real estate agent, which chamber do you give the business to? When you have for printed apparel needs, right? There's only one guy to call, right? Tom's Productions, but I know somebody in each different community that does something similar to Tom, and I can't give them the business because he's always front of mind. So it was really, for me, it was hard, and then I decided I cannot be in those communities. And then when I stepped back out on my own, I've been in the McHenry Chamber for 25 years, so I hang out there, and they're still doing some good things. But the Chain of Lakes Chamber, they're so active right now, and I just feel really bonded with the people that I meet up there. So it's just you got to be careful when you get involved. How much are you going to get involved?
Right. I started thinking about it. Right. So work for some people is a community, right? Because you're all kind of paddling the same boat. But sometimes work is not.
Yeah. When I worked in the corporate, it was not a community.
Yeah, right. There's a bunch of gophers in the little cubicles, but and I'm watching. I've been blessed. I've got 3 adult children. I've got a 16-year-old. And I watch her community. Well, her community is here. They Snapchat, they do this, they do that. That's how they communicate now. and nobody ever leaves their room.
Yeah.
But they've built, and I go, I don't know if that's a community, but it is to them
In today's world.
in today's world, right? And I'm like, I don't know if I like that as a community, because how big of a role, and here's why, I guess, is how big of a role does accountability play in your community?
I picked James up from college one day, and whatever we had to bring home, his dirty clothes, laundry, whatever, he got into the car. It's just an hour ride from Whitewater down here, and got in the car, and the first thing he's doing is, he's on this, and I'm trying to have a conversation. I mean, I coached him from the time he was 5, and we used to have great conversations in the car, and I'm talking and he's responding, but they're like 140 characters or less. Right. And so finally we got just down the road. There's this little, it's called Whiskey Corners or something like that. A little bar tavern that has
in Wisconsin, that's a shocker.
Amazing hamburgers. And, he loves them. I got to stay away from them. But, well, we go in and we ate. As we came out, I was like, "Hey, James, would you like to drive home?" And I didn't even wait for him to say yes or no. I threw him the keys and got in the passenger seat because he couldn't Snapchat it, right? We had an absolutely amazing conversation. From that point on, I'd pick him up or I'd take him back, and I just toss him the keys. You're driving, buddy. So I used to. I'm getting old. My eyes don't see the road quite as clear as they used to.
And James, just understand you're listening, so I appreciate that. Now you know the secret. What about? Have you thought about that when you think of a sense of community? How big accountability plays in it, or does it at all?
It should. I don't think it always does.
Yeah.
But you're talking about kids. I think it's really cool. My son has a good community of friends. Like, they actually do stuff together. Like, they go to the mall, or this summer they'll be going to Six Flags. They still have sleepovers. Sophomores in high school are.
Yeah. My junior does too. So whatever.
So I think that's pretty cool. But I do agree when you're doing stuff online, because you're not like.
Yeah.
Like, I get that it is real, but coming from where we are, where like you have interpersonal interactions with people and you actually talk to them and get to know them. It's hard to do that when your community's online, because how much are you actually getting to know people?
Well, going back to my story I started out with, aren't the neighbors all showed up to take care of me? Neighbors don't show up. You don't show up online. They just talk to the next guy. There is no real accountability there.
Things were different in the mid 1900s. I mean, let's be honest.
In the mid of Nebraska, it didn't matter when it was. We were up in Alaska.
Now they have solar farms.
How do you raise that stuff?
That's right. What is the season for those?
Up in Alaska, if there's somebody pulled over with a flat tire, the very next car stops and helps them. It's not like 15 cars go by before somebody stops, because up there, they're used to it. You need help. We're going to take care of that now. Right. Down here, we're all like, oh, somebody else will do it. Somebody else will do it. Somebody else will do it. Yeah. And it is an interesting concept of what does community. And I like your take on accountability, right? Am I responsible for the people who see? Don't pick him up. He's hitchhiking. Well, right, he needs a ride somewhere.
Listen, don't
do that.
Pull over and call somebody.
Like,
please. I mean,
911.
There's still weirdos out there. I watch NCIS and CSI. Trust me, they don't.
My wife watches all of them. I get concerned that she's not being entertained; she's being educated.
That's right. Trust me. Trust me.
Here, taste this.
Right. So, I mean, when we grown up, look, you step out of line. It was okay for your buddy's parents to go ahead and whoop you until your parents got there. Right? They're like, don't take care of him. I'll be there in 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
Leave a little for me.
So that sense of community, that accountability was you couldn't step out. Right. Because you knew if you stepped out wrong at John's house, guess what happens? wait till your father gets home, right? Wait,
Yeah.
wait till your mom going to get the shoe out.
Right. At the very
Well,
least, they were going to let your parents know.
Absolutely.
You're not getting away with it.
Nothing.
That's
Nothing.
like he talks about his buddy Red. Now, Red came over, and Red had kind of a potty mouth when he used his potty mouth in my house. Well, his name used to be Fred, but my mama knocked the F right out of him.
Right? That's the way it was.
Absolutely, it was.
And you would say, yes, ma'am. No, yeah, hey, right? I mean, that community, the accountability in the communities when we grew up, it didn't matter whether it was church, whether it was your neighborhood, right? The accountability piece was huge. So as we were going through this, I'm like, wow, I belong to a lot of communities, but a lot of that accountability now is out the window.
Yeah.
It's like, well, listen, they're going through some stuff. So, right. And I don't know if it's my place to tell their parent. You know what I'm saying? It's weird now. The accountability piece, right? I can see in the veteran community, absolutely 100%, right? Because, that's the bond you all have. Right. I've got your six, I got your back. Don't worry. I'm here for you. And if you're not in that veteran community or military, you're like, that's a nice community for you all. Right. But the hard thing is, as I think a dude, a dad, a grandfather, not a grandfather, a great grandfather, is understanding the outlines or the guidelines of each community that you're part of, because they're not ever the same. Mm-hmm. You're in the veterans and they're, hey, you guys have battled, you've been in the pits, you know what they've struggled with. And then I come in like, hey, let me be part of this community. They're like, get out of here. Right.
When I retired from coaching, I'm part of the Knights of Columbus in the Catholic world. I'm part of the American Legion, but I hadn't been active in either one of them because I was coaching, so I'm always coaching when they're having their meetings. So when I decided which one do I really want to dedicate my time to, I had to compare them. Well, the Knights of Columbus is full of a bunch of whiny old men, and the American Legion full of a bunch of whiny old men. But one of them has a little more discipline in their whining than the other one. Yeah. And so I made the choice to get involved in the American Legion. And within a year and a half, I'm second in command of the American Legion, right? And not because I had any desire for that role, is because it needed to be filled so that, we could accomplish some things. Well, now they automatically want me to step in the command role. And I want the command role. I'll be number 2 behind any guy who wants that chair. I don't want the I've had that responsibility. I've had it. But the problem is, and somebody who's very experienced just laid it out for me today, and he goes, whether you want it or not, you're the right guy for the job now. He said, take it for a year, develop somebody, then step down. And I'm like,
took that bait. Yeah. So speaking of that, is kind of the next question. Is a great segue. Is throughout time, each community had to have a leader, right? I mean, when there were cave people, it was the guy who killed the saber tooth or whatever. Like, oh, well, the guy who built the wheel. Hey, whatever. So, how important? Again, where do you find it? You know what I'm saying? How important is a leader to building a strong community? I mean, when we were kids, we always had somebody who was like that alpha male, right? It was like, hey, he's awesome. Yeah. Let's go. He's the leader of the pack, right? We know
the leader of the pack.
So is leadership important in community? We've all seen churches with strong leaders, and then all of a sudden they retire or go to jail or whatever, and then all of a sudden that community doesn't look quite the same.
Right.
So, how important is that leadership piece, to a community?
Well, it's to me, that's my background. It's everything, right? In your athletic teams growing up, a lot of coaches will just assign the captains. You're the captain, you be the leader of this team. And a lot of times they pick the wrong guy, right? They picked a guy that in their eyes, but in the eyes of the team, when I was coaching, I didn't pick my captains for the first week and a half of preseason. I let whose leadership abilities are starting to rise, who's pushing harder than anyone else. Then I'd have the team vote on captains, but I'd assign whoever I wanted anyway. Just let them think that's the way they voted.
Sure.
All the secrets out. But, leadership to me is everything. When we get into a lot of what's happened today is people who have strong management skills find their way into leadership roles. And management, and just a simple definition, the difference between leaders serve their people, managers want to be served by their people. When you look at, just a small distinction, and you've all worked with people who fit both categories throughout the course of your life. And right now, we don't talk politics very much, but the only thing I can say is our politics is loaded with managers and not leaders right now. And I won't say where that stops or where it goes.
We can edit that out.
But you can go wherever you want with it. But we need to get back to leadership because leadership is everything.
Yeah. No, it's very important for communities to have good leadership because otherwise you can just have utter chaos. And things just go totally off the rails. There's a such thing as controlled chaos, and there are times for that, but even within that, you do want to have strong leadership. And I think one of the things that you also want to have in that leader is them wanting to look and find that next person to groom in order to be in the leadership to keep it coming. So, it's about the future of the group and the community and how you want that to continue on and finding that next person. Because like you talked about the church, like you have that change and sometimes things like implode and they don't go.
Oh, you've seen it in business.
And it's, like Coach was saying, is, if it's a situation where someone is just appointed, might not necessarily be the best thing. So you want it to be more of an organic situation.
Well, and one of the things I like to ask is, why is being a Bear fan today like shopping at Aldi? Well, we finally got a quarterback, right? But when you look at just north of the border, the team that shall not be named, right? But what have they done? They have continued to develop the next leader. And they sat behind somebody until they were ready or until the other one got stupid. Right? But going all the way back to who was right before Favre?
Wojciechowski.
Bart Starr. I have no idea.
Well, Bart Starr was up there,
but
they developed, and then Favre came along, and he owned it. They brought up Aaron Rodgers. They brought up Rodgers, where he sat behind Favre to a point he was ready to quit. If Favre didn't leave pretty soon, they brought him in, and gosh, while he was there, he was incredible. Well, he got stupid, and they started moving on, and they had this Jordan Love guy comes along. And they're like, oh, finally they got rid of the good quarterback. And Jordan Love's just as good as the other two. They've taken the time to develop those leaders, right? We take ours, they come in, and we throw them right to the wolves and say either sink or swim.
Right.
And, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But it's in that, that waiting period, that development period, when a future leader is behind a good or a great leader, they have the opportunity to learn those skills and develop and move on. That's just the way I see it. So,
because community and connection, and we'll talk more about connection on the next one. But community is to me, I think everything, right? And why do I say community is everything? Because you are around like-minded people that have the same, not necessarily the same passions, but the same drive or the same focus. In that community. We can go, into the inner city and those are tight-knit communities, right? And that could all be on the 25th floor, You know what I mean? Of community. You look at when kids go to college, you know, their dorm floor, you got an RA,
Mhm.
and they build community on that floor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the RA is somebody who's got a little more experience with the college life or whatever, you know, been there a couple of years. But I was, you know, I was like, every community I've been part of, there is a good leader, right? And it's not necessarily the person you always like. It's not necessarily the person you always love, but it always seems to every community that I've been a part of has a good leader, right? I mean, I've been the leader in some of them. You guys have been the leaders in some of them, and we've seen those communities do well. And then the one. Yeah, I have to move. You know, my job moved me across, you know, across the
Right.
nation or across the globe, and then, you know, it's interesting.
But kind of attaching to that though is sometimes when a leader stays in that leadership position too long, they begin to, what do I say, power corrupts absolute, power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
They kind of move. I truly believe, and gosh, this is twice in the same show, but I truly believe that every individual who runs for their first political office does it for all the right reasons. And then along the way, they get jaded for whatever reason. I don't pretend to know that because I've never gone in that world. But because of that, the stigma that's out there is, you know, they're a bunch of,
Yeah.
fill in the blank. But in any leadership role, when a leader's been there too long, they have a tendency. I mean,
So what is that shelf life then?
I think it depends.
Right.
It depends on the community.
Yeah.
In the Knights of Columbus and the American Legion, it's like 2 years, right? 2 years, and we're going to rotate. In the military, you move once you became an officer. You moved every 2 years. You didn't have a choice in that, right? I may live in Woodstock and want to be part of the Woodstock National Guard, but once my 2-year tenure was up, I was down in Chicago at the 33rd Brigade. Once my 2 years was up there, I was at the 131st Infantry Battalion. They
Couldn't hold the job.
couldn't hold a job for it. I held the job for 21 years, just not in the same place. And I think that model, because I think the military is one of the greatest leadership organizations in the world, that model is what kept it fresh and moving forward.
I mean, and it is different, right? But yeah, I mean, it all depends the type of community, I guess, right? And I'm not looking at a business community necessarily. But my thought on this is we have a hard time as dudes, you know, as two bald guys at a microphone. We always we want to be part of a team, and to me, a team is a community, right? Yeah. To me, but there's also a part of us that says, I don't want to be part of it. Yeah, I'll be the lone wolf. I don't need community, right?
Yeah.
We all know the person in that community, you know. So like my church community, it's a great church community, but I want to go to church and then leave. I don't want to be, you know, I don't want to have to go pull weeds in the garden or, you know, do whatever they do. I want to go worship and bounce. That's it, right? So I could be looked at as that guy in the community. I'll meet with guys from that community and have coffee, talk, whatever, you know. But
everybody's like,
right, I'm probably that guy, you know. It's like don't go in his yard, right?
Don't ask him to do anything.
So as communities are built and you looked at it, and if you guys think of your communities that you're part of, there's 2, 3, maybe even though you're part of the community, there's a connection with, you know, it's like a chain link, right? There's you're connected to really tight in that community with 2, maybe 3 people.
Yeah. Right.
It doesn't matter what community it is, right? It doesn't even matter if you were the leader of that community. If you really take a look at every community you're in, you're like, oh, I hate her. I hate him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know.
We were talking, me and one of the therapists were talking to one of the kids the other day just about how to handle that. And, they were like, and the student was asking his therapist, like, oh, I know there's got to be people you probably don't like. He was like, yeah, I keep it moving. And I was like, yeah. I said, you know how I handle it? I said, I see him, hey, how you doing? And just keep it moving, So, yes, there are people.
Gotta go.
Look at the time.
There are people in the community.
Right.
That are like that, that you don't connect with. And that's okay.
Right. So it's fair to say a good community has a good leader, but it's also fair to say that a community is chaos.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes the best leader in the community isn't the person in charge of the community.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen times when the janitor is the best leader in the organization.
Sure.
Right? Because he's constantly working, he's setting the example, he's moving on, while the guy in the big chair, nobody wants to have a conversation with him because it never goes anywhere. So leadership, and we talk about, again, in the military, is formal and informal leadership. Formal leadership has a title, a desk, an office, whatever goes with it. Informal leadership is the people you look to when the fecal matter is hitting the oscillating blades.
Yeah.
Right. It's
yeah. So for me, as I kept diving into this, I'm like, because I love people and I hate them equally. Right. And I want you to understand what I'm saying is, being in a people business.
He doesn't like us.
I never have. Being in a people business my whole life is I love them. Yeah. But then I've had enough. And there are times where I'm like, no. That's why we're, man camp.
That's just what I was going to say. That's man camp.
That's a community, I know, but it's a community where we all go just to get away, and there's 8, sometimes more, or sometimes less, but it's like, I'm done peopling, I'm done community, right? And there are, I think every community that you're part of has a shelf life. And I don't know what that is. I've been trying to figure it out, but there are communities where I'm like, I'm about done with this. But I love my boys or my girls that are in there. But how do I say, I'm done? And this community is no good for me.
I'm going to go back to the Knights of Columbus. When I first, they were after me to join for like 7 years, right? And I kept telling them, I'm too busy with my kids. I'm too busy with coaching. And finally I told him to get him off my back. I said, look, when my youngest one graduates from high school, I'll come join you. That was like 3 years before he graduated. Didn't hear anything from her 3 years. The day after his graduation, the phone rings. They're like, well, I'm bringing over the Form 100. You're joining us now, right? I'm like, well, I'm a man of my word. I said I would, so I did. I went in, and right away, the leadership stuff started kind of pulling up. And I tried to sit back. But we had a guy moving into the Grand Knight position who needed a strong second. So I said, I can be that guy. I like being the second in command, right? So I come in, and he's sworn in as the Grand Knight in June, and in July he had a heart attack. So now I am the acting Grand Knight for the next 9 months. He recovers from his heart attack. He comes back. Yeah, I'm ready to be Grand Knight. We go through the process. June, he comes in. And we're like, good, this will be your year. And third week in July, he has a second heart attack. This time he dies. Mm-hmm. Now I'm the Grand Knight, but I've never been the Grand Knight. I've only been the acting Grand Knight. Right. And
folks just turning in, this is Knights of Columbus.
This is Knights of Columbus.
No dragons. Or I was
pull it out of that sword.
You understand what I'm saying? Yes.
So now the third year,
we're burning crosses. I don't know what's going on.
It's my job to actually be the Grand Knight, but that's 3 years of this, and I'm getting really tired of this community. So by the time I was done. When I stepped down as Grand Knight, I stopped participating in meetings. I stopped going back. Just support what you said. There was definitely a shelf life on that one.
Yeah. I don't. It's same with you. I mean, you're like,
yeah. There's been a few groups I've been a part of that, you hit that wall. And it's like, and some of it's just me.
Right.
It's not always the community. It's just, you grow and
Yeah, it's called
things
growth.
change.
Right.
Yeah. And that's always a hard part though. Cause like you were saying before, you got those people that like, man, I really like them.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that?
It's a good
Keeping
question.
that connection
Mm-hmm.
while at the same time pulling yourself away.
And that
Look
is
at me. You answer this one. He answer that to you.
fast. And that is a great question. And when you're part of that community, and that's why I say there's a shelf life. I think when you build a community or you're part of a community, it doesn't. When that happens, at least for me, it's not like all of a sudden I hate what that community stands for. Because again, we kind of at the beginning said a community there's a focus. There's something, whether it's gardening, whether it's race cars, whatever it is. When you're in that community, it may not be all one team, but like the NFL, that's a community, right? They're all battling each other, but it's a community. And I think that when you have expired in that community or the shelf life is up, then you're just like, listen, I absolutely love what y'all are doing. However, at this point in my life, I've got to move here, or I've got to go do this now.
Look.
Doesn't mean that I'm going to poo-poo on you or say it's a bad community. And there may be times I may come back because I need that touch. But the other way to do it is to stay, because you do create those relationships, is you have to go, hey man, when you see them, you got to talk about that community. How's it going? Oh man, we wish you were still around, whatever. And then you can support that community, but they'll have events, they'll do things, and you can still support it. It's just that like, I'm not spending my time in this community anymore because I've grown. I've got other things to do. I had a really good conversation with a guy, and it was like, listen, when you put time and effort and passion, sweat, tears into something, it's not quitting. You have to look at that as growth.
Yeah. Right.
Perhaps you've outgrown that community. And that doesn't, and I understand what I'm saying. That doesn't make you better than the people in that community. Right. And as a guy, especially someone like me who loves to make people happy, that's a hard thing for them to understand, is to just, and for me to kind of let them down or whatever, have that conversation. That's a tough conversation, but that's, it's like, hey, no, I still love it. I'm not quitting. I don't want you to look at me as a quitter, but I've grown. I've grown into a different community or a different direction. That is still wonderful. And I'll support you guys. I'll show up at a gala. I'll show up at an event, whatever you have. So like Kelly Vance created Sunbeams Uganda. And she and her husband bought land in Uganda, and they've built a school, and they're building dormant. It's amazing what they're doing. And so if you want to check them out, Sunbeams Uganda, you can Google it. It's out there. But I become part of that community, but I'm like, don't ever ask me to go to Africa. You can, the answer is always going to be no. Right. Because I don't feel called to be part of that community. Right. I'll support you. I emceed their gala, and, we and their auction, and we raised a bunch of money. It was fun, and I loved it. And I'll support them, and we support them at 216 Creator Studios. But right. That's a cool community, but don't ever ask me to go to Africa ain't on my travel list.
Right. You do know that we have a standing invitation to go to Nairobi.
I do, and don't ever ask me to go. Listen what I'm saying. There's
Sheila has said, you guys come over, you'll never pay for a thing over here.
And speaking of politics, she's running for a public office.
Yeah, she's in. Yeah, she's in a couple of.
So, so I can be part of a community, but not really be in the community. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And when you bow out, you can still be part of the community, just not in the community.
I think you can tell just how good of a community it is based on how they treat you on your way out.
Yeah.
Because if the community is really about helping each other grow, yes, we have this targeted thing that we're after, but we also love and support each other, and they see your growth as a good thing and not, oh, you think you're better than us. You know?
Yeah, we're not burning down, we're not burning the boats. I don't
Right.
say, hey, easy. Yeah.
Well, that's my departure from the night. So I mean, I still pay my dues. I still, belong to the organization, but I was just burned out because of everything that I had to do over those 3 years. Because the leader, you're involved in every single thing, and after a while, you just.
And when it is Columbus, is it Columbus, Ohio? I mean, what is it?
Yeah, Columbus Day.
Was Columbus really a guy or a pirate? I don't know. Anyway, it's
Well,
a whole different story for a whole different day. And then listen, give us some feedback. Put some stuff in the comments, and let us know what you think about community or how you bow out of communities, what you feel is important in communities. Another thing you can do for us that we really appreciate for our community is on our YouTube page. Go ahead and hit like, follow, subscribe.
Hit that bell.
Yep. And then when great shows from 216 come on, we would love for you to be part of our community. But also give us some feedback. I love hearing from people like, you guys are idiots and you don't know anything about community or whatever, right? But we never said we were smart.
No.
We said we were bald.
We said we were
Well,
used to be.
Used to
fine.
be. Used to be. But that's it. That would be important for us, and we appreciate it. Eric Bam, thanks for throwing in some comments. He always does. So I love and Eric Bam's a great guy. He's written a couple books now, and love what he does. Just one of those fantastic souls, right? But again, when you have that community, there's people that love that community so much that they think they wouldn't understand why you wouldn't want to be active in it, not part of it, just active in it, right? And once you're in, truly, if the community still exists, are you ever not part of it once you've been part of it?
Well, look at the Relay for Life of North McHenry County. We launched that in 2001, and we became the largest inaugural Relay for Life in the country that year. We raised like $119,000 our first time out. And so we just kept that ball rolling for almost 10 years. We raised well over $1 million for cancer. And then one by one, we started going away, and eventually they moved the relay back to combine with Crystal Lake. So it was just one McHenry County relay. And but it was because we just kept losing people, because people had put so much into it for so long, they just didn't have any more to give.
Yeah.
Well, a few years ago, I said, wouldn't it be nice to have a reunion breakfast of everybody that was in there on the committee? So we made that call, and like 13 of us showed up for breakfast at Brunch Cafe that morning. And it was just like we were right back there at the start, even though we haven't worked together.
So like you were passing
probably
forks.
15 years old.
Okay, go. Okay, go.
We're passing canes.
relay for breakfast. And that's the other thing that just swirling through my mind too is like, once you're part of a community, are you ever not?
No,
You can not be active in it.
Yeah.
Right.
But are you ever not part?
I think you're still part of it. Like how you choose to participate is going to be different.
Yeah.
There's Ollie. Ollie was a manager at a car dealership where I worked, and I just had published my novel. I said, Ollie, I published a novel. And he says, oh, that's great. Can I see it? So I brought him a copy. The next day he comes in, he goes, Tim, I read your book. And I go, oh, that's great. No, you don't understand. I read your book. And I go, oh, that's great. And it was getting a little weird. He goes, come here. And he takes me back into like the parts department. We go back in, and we're starting to walk down. Now it's kind of getting a little bit weird back here. I'm like, what are we doing back here? Well, as we get back there, he always wore a starched shirt, collar, tie, long sleeves. And he's starting to unbutton his sleeves. I'm like, what's going on here?
Ollie.
And he goes, you don't understand. He says, I got to show you something. Well, he took it off, and he was tatted from here to here,
Yeah.
and it wasn't high quality tats. He was in the gangs until he was 30, 32 years old.
Mhm.
And when he finally broke out of that community, you know, there's no getting out of that community most of the time. But he got a job as a lot man on a car dealership. And then he started watching the people who were successful. He started emulating him. Had never finished a book, had never graduated from the 10th grade, had done anything. But when you met him, you'd swear he was a master degree, highly educated individual. And he just learned to emulate the people who were successful. He said, but he was a gang member for 32 years of his life. And that's a community that it's definitely hard. But he did leave it behind. And today he runs a very successful business down in Elgin with his father. And they do great stuff. And I always stay in touch with him. But some communities, it's a little harder to leave.
Right.
Yeah.
And I like what you said, where you might leave, but you don't turn your back on them. Right. And if they were ever to call you back, if they were ever to have need for something, you'd pop up.
Yeah. Yeah.
As long as they asked you.
Yeah.
You
I
know.
mean, as long as they're not, hanging people or,
Back to the
murdering
Ku Klux
somebody.
Klan.
I'm busy that night. Sorry, I can't come to the lynching. Sorry. You're just like, what?
Well, he's stuck on that tonight, isn't he?
Well,
That's,
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the nights. I don't know. It's weird.
that secret society. Those.
That's right. Good thing you didn't say Macy's. Whoops.
Well, they haven't made a show about us yet, so.
Right. But that is, to me, that's one of the most interesting things as I looked at it. I'm like, because you build those relationships and you build that community, and then all of a sudden you move or whatever, but if they called you, you may not get up at 2 a.m. to go help them. You know what I mean? Because you haven't been active in the community. But you'd be like, oh, I won't pray for you. And let me check my calendar. And, if I can get there, I can get there. But, the community that you're in, there are people, if they called you at 2, you're like, I'll be there.
Mhm.
Right. And I think that's an interesting thing. But then there's those communities that you're part of, and then all of a sudden you get together with them, and it's like you haven't skipped a beat.
Yeah.
Everything. Oh my gosh! Oh, that's your kid now. And instead of here, like Jonathan, or John. Sorry, like, oh, remember when he was?
I do.
Yeah.
So that's the fun part. I mean, the Two Bald community, we started this crazy thing 10 years ago, right? And people just kept wanting to be part of the community and doing things. And that's why I wanted to bring back, you guys wanted to bring it back, because, that is a community.
Yeah.
Right. And we love spending time with our community. Right.
Well, the progression of that, it was going. I had to leave because I went out. I was doing stuff. I was flying around the country, and so I stepped away. And then the other things happened, and the show itself stopped. But our following kept growing and growing and growing. It's like we haven't been on a show for a while. So every year we made an attempt to do an anniversary show on Labor Day, and every Labor Day show was just so well received. And I'm like, are you guys back? Are you really back? And it's like, well, maybe. Well, this time, at least for the near future, we're not going anywhere. So
send your money too, right? So what do you guys do? And this is going to be an interesting question.
We're very short on time.
Yeah. What do you guys do?
Oh, look.
Intentionally to build community in your most active community?
Coach, I'll let you take this.
Well, every time.
Go ahead, Grand Knight. Whatever you call it, Grand Poobah. What is that?
Let's go to the American Legion, because that's the veteran community. every time I'm out, you know, I always normally have my hat on that says retired Army or
Yeah.
a shirt or something.
Thank you for wearing a shirt.
You're,
We
you're
appreciate
welcome.
that.
It's a 250th birthday of our country. You got to
It
celebrate.
is. It is rolling up here in July.
So I meet another vet, and I always ask them, especially if they're from the McHenry area, you're part of the Legion VFW. What activities are you doing to support your veteran brothers and sisters? And they're like, no. So we invite them. You know, we are, as an American Legion, we are the #1 American Legion growth-wise, recruiting-wise in the state of Illinois, right here in McHenry, because everybody within our organization, we've made a pact that we're going to do that. We're going to try to bring more people in, not so we get bigger or we get some award, because veterans, as we come together, a lot of them need community. They need they might not need you to come over and mow their lawn, but they need somebody to listen to them every once in a while. And just showing up on that night. We always have a meal before the meeting. So we always break bread and have a meal, and it's a lot like standing in line when you're in basic training. You know, it's just like you see these guys, you can just picture them. But that's one thing we do is we constantly invite new blood into the.
So when they started slicing bread, did that really ruin the break bread thing?
It might have.
I mean,
You know, if Jesus would have sliced, if he would have sliced bread with their eyes has still been open.
right? I don't know. That's why I'm saying. Right. What about you? And so and listen, intentionality, right? So you intentionally talk and invite people.
And if
into
you are
your
a veteran,
community,
you're welcome to
right?
post 491 McHenry.
And that's different, right? Because that community is kind of clubbish. You know what I mean? You know, so. But your most active community, not necessarily a club, right? You know, so what do you do it? What intentionality do you do to build that community?
Well, not a whole lot I can do because I can't hire and bring people
Right,
on.
right,
And we're
exactly.
actually in a place now where we're going to be losing people next school year. So
So I'm intentionally getting rid of the weak, rid of the weak.
but
Intentionally putting my resume out right now.
but no, I'm safe. You know, I'm safe. But the intentionality is, you know, working with helping people like with their mindset, with their, you know, just their mentality as we deal with this transition and things that are happening. So it's not necessarily to grow because I have no control over that.
Right.
But how do we grow the morale?
Yeah.
You know, how do we grow
The strength.
the camaraderie,
the
the strength? You know, so those are the things that my focus is on right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like just really building those connections with people, and because we're gonna really need that, you know, as we move forward, because with less people, we are shrinking a lot of things. So we're shrinking the size of the school community as well.
Yeah.
But even within that, like we've got to, you know, continue to work together and be a close-knit group,
Mm-hmm.
because with less people, now we're going to have to be more focused on keeping eyes on those students and really serving them in the right way. We can't depend on numbers. You know, we have to depend on something else, like how we show up to work every day. And so that's
I mean, God bless you. You know, Alice, my wife, she works with the autistic kids for the last 12 years, you know, at the school district. And I'm just like, you're amazing. Right. And because it isn't easy what you all do. Right. And you just it's amazing. Yeah. So thank you what you do. It's crazy. God, thank you. That's you, not me.
Well, and if you want to help with personal growth, just have them go look back at the last 2 episodes of Two Bald Guys and a Microphone.
My intentionality to make the community, you know, probably the most active community that I'm in. This might be a shocker. You know, Rancher Ron said it, you know, and I've kind of lived by it. There's a couple of things that he would do. Is number one is, you know, life's an adventure to be lived, not a problem to be solved. So my goal is I always try to have fun and make people laugh and have a good time. That's my intentionality in any community that I'm in.
Yeah.
I can intentionally be the dummy or go ahead and make fun of me, whatever the case may be. But if you're happy and, that's what that's where I go. Right. And, the question that, that wherever he was at, hey, what can I do to make your day better?
It didn't matter if he was in line at Ross or drive-in at the McDonald's.
Didn't matter.
How can I make it? What's your name?
Yep.
Alice. You always got their name.
Yep.
Alice, how can I make your day better today?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
What can I do? And people stop for a second and they go, you just did. Just by asking that question. A lot of times that's what happens, right? So my intentionality is I think when you're laughing and you're having fun, you feel like you belong, right? And that's the beauty, I think, of humor. That's the beauty of when you MC, we've done events together, we play Laurel and Hardy, and get people laughing, and at the end people are like, oh, you guys are great, and and we're up there just having fun and want people to have fun and enjoy the moment and enjoy what they're there for, and and so my intentionality as I looked at it is I'm like, I don't necessarily recruit. I mean, the community that I'm thinking of, again, it's not like a club type thing, but it's always how I want you to feel good about yourself. I want you to feel good about, the community. I want you, and we should laugh and have fun. My oldest daughter, Ashley, is a clinical psychologist, and she does amazing work, but there are times, even at home, she's like, oh, yep, there's Dad's joke right on time, because that's what I love to do is, if I can get you laughing, then there was an old saying, right? The closest two people can get is through laughter, So
except when you're on the air,
right,
and you can't breathe.
And you can't breathe. Oh, that was a good one. That was out in good old Harvard there. But community is so important for life, right? And we can go through and find that, oh, the old cat lady who never left her house, or you know what I mean? She didn't want that person who didn't want to be or never felt a need to be part of a community. It always baffles me because throughout my life, I don't think there is a time where I have never been part of a community of some sort. I can't think of a time.
Or multiple.
Or multiple. And that's why I say, I think as men, we've got so many communities that we're part of. That's why I say, how many communities is too many, or how many should be in? But it's especially for, I think, three of us, it's you can be in way too many, I think, right? But you're probably active in a community, like you're in the veteran community.
Maybe a couple, but that's no more than that.
Right.
A lot of them, you're in that periphery of it. You're there, but you're not fully active in it. But there's going to be those other communities that look to you and depend on you to be a part of the community.
Yeah, I mean, it's February, right? Freezing cold, and Scott, who's on the show from time to time.
Scott,
Scott Giles is he had his pet store downtown and the bakery next door, and then they lost it, and this community of McHenry came together and moved quickly to raise money for both of the businesses that were lost, right? And then they, the bakery is, I guess, for last I heard, is coming back. They're may not be in the same spot. I don't know exactly what's going on, but Scott moved, but there was money that was raised through GoFundMe, and they had a basketball game, where they sold shirts and did things for Scott. It blew him away. Right. And if he was here, he'd probably be in tears talking about it because it meant that much. He didn't understand his place, or that business, his family's place in this community
when I first heard about it, and I'm that guy. I hear you're in trouble. I'm going to call you. I'm going to show up. And so I called to tell him, at FaceTime, he answers the phone. He's on a beach in Mexico.
Yep, he was out of the country. Yeah,
he's like, yeah, I'm trying to run everything from down here. My son and
Zach did a great
Zach
job.
just picked the ball up and ran with
Yep.
it. But it's one of those things that, right, when the community's around and you've done your part, they're definitely gonna do their part to help you out.
Yeah, he and Deidre, they give so much to the McHenry community, and it was. I think it caught him off guard how much the community did for him. It was neat, but that's again, that's the community as we would think, local community, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, there's so many communities that I'm a part of, been a part of. It's hard to name them all. But I think for most people, the need for community is huge. It's
Yeah.
huge.
The sense of belonging
Yeah.
that you're looking for.
Yeah. So we're right on the back end of this. So give us some thoughts in the comments. Give us some thoughts about, communities. If you've got a community that you love and you want to throw out there and you want to be intentional about it, go ahead, put it in the comments. Let us know. Absolutely 100%.
Yeah. And maybe there's some issues going on with your community that you'd like to have some ideas on,
Yeah.
on how you can
Absolutely.
be part of the solution and not
Yep.
part of the problem.
Yep. So the next show is going to be all on connection, right? Because in every community you have to have connection, and there's always connective tissue. And today it seems it's harder and harder and harder to build a connection, right? There's so much divisiveness in the world and on social media and on things that truly making that connection now, and sometimes with the people that you thought you had a really good connection now are you're torn, right?
Unreal.
So what we're going to talk about next time is connection, and what are some of your expectations with connections that, right?
Yeah.
In these communities and whatnot, and the purpose. And I think it's going to be really neat. The next episode coming up in a couple weeks. But if you're truly part of a community that you absolutely love, throw it in the comments and let us know what it is. And we'll give shout outs. And if you have a really cool community, you can always reach out to us at info@216creatorstudios.com, and we can get you on Let's Talk Local, because we love to support other communities and whatnot through that show. But yeah, any last parting wisdom on communities that you guys have, the importance of them, or how to get involved in one, or how to get rid of one?
How to escape?
Yeah, right.
That's a good one.
Oh, looky.
Yeah.
No, it just if for people that are out there that like feel lonely, joining a community is a great way to solve that issue.
And I'm in a real community,
Yeah.
right? Because there's so many catfishes and weird things out there.
Yes.
With online communities.
Yes. Real life, like getting out, going somewhere and meeting people, that is a great way, because you don't want to get too far into the artificial communities. Like you want real natural communities, where like say you can like touch someone, give them a hug, pat on the back, all of those things. But if you're feeling lonely, like the best way is to reach out and look for those communities with similar interests, because those are the things that light you up, right?
Yeah.
So you want to find other people that are interested in the same things, and they're out there. They may be hard to find, but they're out there. So
well, that's maybe one of the things we talk about. How do you find them? I mean,
that connection.
yeah.
you go onto the internet, right? How do I find an in-person community? Right? Sometimes you just got to show up.
That's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just show up. How many times have we walked by a community? I know when we first started going through issues with stuff in our family, and somebody said, you know, the Al-Anon community is something that would be important right now. I'm not going there.
Yeah.
You know, the stigma, once we went, it was like, oh my gosh, they were so receiving and so, you know, because they had all gone through the same pain that we'd gone through.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was that common ground that they were just so accepting. And when we really stopped going, nobody ever got it. Oh, so, you know, are you okay?
Right.
They were just, we're here if you need us. And it's great. And there's a lot of, whatever you like, there's a community for it.
Yep.
Whatever you do, there's
Yep.
a community for it.
Yep.
Chefs of America, there's a community for it.
That's right.
Introverts of America, you know.
There is a community for that.
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
One community of one. That's what
Pity party of one.
Okay.
Corner table, please.
Who's all involved? Me and the 10 voices in my head. Right. 3 of them don't even speak English.
You and my buddy Red. That's
it. That's it. So listen, thanks so much for taking some time hanging out with us at Two
Ball Guys, the microphone. My name is Tim Stewart. I am Coach Papa, and I do approve this message, and I especially approve these two guys I'm sitting here with. So it's time for you to get off the bench and get back in the game. Go out and make this your best day yet. Now, have a blessed and beautiful day.
Living it loud. Two ball guys, we're making you proud. Breaking down barriers, united we fight. In this crazy world, we bring the light. Two ball guys. Spurs from the corners where the dreams collide.